on my heels. I was overcome by distress and sorrow. I called out for help. Lord, save me, save us. I am so afflicted, I said. Everyone is a liar, I cried out. There's just so much to hold right now. Yesterday, Leslie Hamilton, who is our church council co-chair, and her daughter Maya, who's one of our young leaders, sat with their mother and grandmother Gloria as she transitioned from this earth. We as a church community have known and been connected to and praying for Gloria for the last 13 years. In these last days, she's been surrounded by love, held in spirit, and carried by God. On Wednesday, I stopped at their house and delivered communion elements. And Thursday, when she was still alert, Gloria, Leslie, and Maya and I had communion by Zoom. And then yesterday, just hours before she died, Kip prayed with Leslie and Gloria over the phone. Just this morning, our associate pastor, Priscilla Tennant's sister-in-law, Myra, died, leaving her two daughters, Mariah and Sierra, and Priscilla's brother, Andre. Right now, several of our folks, some of you on this call, have parents in memory care units and assisted living facilities. Others are far from parents and in-laws and beloved elders. The fear for their fragility and vulnerability is so consuming, and the powerlessness is so real. Others of us are anxious about losing our jobs, our income, our work. Some of us have what I'm now coming to think of as pandemic pods. They're intact. We're close to people or animals we love, and yet we feel the weight of the world like a heavy, wet blanket. Some among us truly do feel alone, longing for the presence of someone we once loved or never got the chance to love, just wishing someone could be with us and hold us. Some of us are very aware of all that we're holding, and some of us, knowing we have enough food, enough health, a roof, a bank account, a job, or some form of income, even if it feels too small, feel that we can't possibly be holding much since so many other people are literally dying. So why then are our arms so sore? Why is it so hard to focus? Why are we not sleeping? Why are those dreams vexing us? We're fine, more or less. So why do we feel so bulldozed or so oddly numb? Our privilege weighs on us. Some of us feel guilty when we get depressed or despondent or angry or irritated over managing the details of pandemic life. The brutality for some of being an essential worker, the pain for others of not working at all, and the tribulations and sheer time and energy it takes to secure the food and supplies and medicines that we and the people we love need. We're fine, really, and yet we're not. We're okay, and still we're so damn sad. Even for those of us who haven't just lost a parent or child or friend, who aren't experiencing losses and changes in our bodies, why do we feel such a profound sense of grief? Why do we feel like someone or something just died? Because of course they have. In Pennsylvania, there are over 40,000 coronavirus cases with over 1,500 deaths. And of course, the hottest areas with the highest numbers are the zip codes of the majority of people in our congregation, you. And despite the fact that people should be sheltering in place if they're able, 7 more people were killed by guns in Philadelphia this week. And of course, we all know that our systems are failing us. Even if we haven't lost someone that we know, we've lost life as we know it. So I'll say that again. Even if we haven't lost someone that we know, we've lost life as we know it. So how much more complicated is our grief when we've also lost even more than this? The very ground beneath our feet doesn't feel stable or trustable, and we feel utterly flattened. I know that I, for one, am so acutely aware of my privilege, and I'm grateful that many of you are as well. But please don't compare your losses or apologize for them. Your suffering is no less significant just because you also have other forms of security or privilege. As Reverend Naomi Washington Leapart, who is the head of the Mayor's Interfaith Task Force, has said, feel those feelings now or you'll feel them later. Your struggles, your suffering, our suffering is real. And God knows and wants to help us carry every bit of it. So in addition to whatever particular things you're going through, we are all experiencing collective grief. In ways it's similar to the collective grief of 9/11, only it's not focused on one moment. It's coming at us in waves and tides that crash and ebb. It washes over us when we read the news. It tugs at us when we're asleep or lying awake sleepless, as so many of us do now. And I don't know about you, but it comes to me in dreams that are distressing, tormenting, and some nights just downright bizarre. This is what collective grief looks like. It's being felt around the world for sure, but I've got to say that Americans are drawing the short straw in some ways, because in this culture, we're terrible at dealing with grief. Other cultures and traditions have so many ways of ritualizing and collectively facing into loss and death and change, whether it's the keening of the Irish or the Jewish rending of garments or indigenous culture's connection to the land and its rhythms. And I'll tell you, being surrounded by collective wailing and ululating of women in South African funerals would rock you to your core. But us, our ritual, our remedy, we're told, is to consume. Capitalism has robbed us of rituals for collective grief and replaced them with the message that if we're sad or our country's in crisis, we need to buy things. We'll feel better and our country will be better if we buy more stuff. That was the message that was very clear after 9/11. We were told the way to show our patriotism was to start spending money. We sacrificed ourselves on the altar of Wall Street, and it's happening again. So as hard as they are to acknowledge or hold, our feelings and emotions aren't just
Linda, you've frozen, just to let you know.
those.
There we go.
Really? Oh, okay. All right.
We lost you what you're saying on the altar of Wall Street.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Thanks, Margaret. So as hard as our feelings are to hold or acknowledge, they're not meant to be buried or tolerated or something to be ashamed of. They can help us resist that kind of fake message that we can buy ourselves out of this moment. And they can also be windows, gateways into deeper places of activism or spiritual awakening or connection to God. Our emotions are also resources. Our rational minds will not think us into recreating and co-creating new ways of living together. We can't think our way out of this, but our rage and grief might just help us create new ways of being. And also know this, that in the midst of this collective grief and whatever particular forms of grief and loss and despair you might be living with, these things are also true. This week, the turtles returned to the Chestnut Hill Pond in Pastorius Park. The snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas can be seen for the first time in decades. Despite not knowing if she'll need to leave this country for good in the next 30 days, Kyoko Makino, our beloved sister and accompanist, is collaborating with Ed Trays to make moving videos of her music and his photos that are balm for the soul. And we'll see one of those in a minute. Right now, wildlife is surging. There will be more birds, more flowers. The bees will be back like they haven't been back in a while. And that'll give you an excellent opportunity to practice Ovid's song when they come into your internal space. And right now, coyotes are hanging out in downtown Chicago. A pack of jackals has made their home in a city park in Tel Aviv, Israel. Goats took over a town in Wales. And lions are lying in the sun in the streets of South Africa. Florida to Costa Rica, sea turtles are laying their eggs undisturbed from tourists, trappers, and beachfront lights. The human footprint on the earth has lightened, and fossil fuels and carbon emissions are down. And seismologists report lower vibrations from cultural noise than before. The planet has literally calmed down. Mother Earth, to quote Congresswoman Maxine Waters, is reclaiming her time. The earth is reclaiming her time. And in the midst of all of this, our work, Mary Oliver reminds us, is loving that earth, this world, all its creatures and all its people. Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished, which is mostly rejoicing since all the ingredients are here, which is gratitude, to be given a mind and a heart and these body clothes, a mouth with which to give shouts of joy to the moth and the wren, to the sleepy dug up clam, telling them all over and over how it is that we live forever. This is God's good news. Amen. And now, as we go into our time of offering, a time of giving of ourselves and our resources in about how to give online, if that is something you're moved to do. And as we go through this time of offering, we will be treated to the first video collaboration of Kyoko Makino and Ed Trays.
Linda, can you send me the video one more time? I think it was on the slide and now it's not there anymore. And while we're waiting for that, appreciating everybody's responses to Linda's sermon in the chat box. Katie says, wonderful, Linda, thank you for your wisdom. From Kyoko, amen, that was wonderful, thank you. From Nyla, thank you, Linda, for so beautifully allowing us space to hold our sorrows and our marvel. Your words are balm for this day. If you have any other responses to the sermon while we pull up the offering video, I invite you to write that in the chat and I'll lift those up.
Margaret, I'll go ahead and share my screen so you can let me know if that's not working. Can you see that? Okay, great. Thank you, Ed and Kyoko, for that incredible gift. Absolutely powerful. Margaret, is that your music or mine?
I think that's yours.
I can show you the world.
Interesting. We don't need you to show us the world, but thank you very much. Okay, great. Thanks.
That's kind of Zoom bombing.
Yeah, that's right. That's as bad as it gets, we're okay. Well, so now is the time when we're going to move into our communion service. So I invite you to, with Kyoko's music still echoing in your mind, and those incredible images of Ed's, of this gift of creation, I invite you to gather your own elements if you have them, some bread or something that approximates bread, cup if you have a cup in some kind of way, and your flowers. So I have my bread here. My mom made this flatbread last night, so I'm happy to have this for my communion. And my juice is a Diet Coke, and my flowers from the yard. So I invite you to gather those things now as we move into our time of communion. Here in this time, we gather and offer our awareness of the pains and possibilities of our planet. We recognize our connectedness to one another, to this earth, and to all beings. Today, in the bread and the cup and the flowers, we celebrate how we belong to a body greater than ourselves, and how a lifeblood shared by all of creation flows through us. There'll be 3 short sections of prayer: first, joys; second, celebrations of creation; and third, concerns. And you can share those prayers or reflections or responses in the chat box, which I'll read out and share. Or if you have something that you would like to share yourself, you can raise your hand. There should be a way to raise your digital hand, or just try to wave wildly and Margaret will help to call on you. We begin this morning with a time of gratitude and praise. If there are things that you are grateful for, I invite you to name them in the chat box now, or raise your hand so that Margaret can call on you. This is the time when we share our gratitude and thanksgivings. From Jane Melinda Harrison, called last night without prompting. Parents of adolescents and young adults will appreciate the fact that there was a call without a prompt. From Liz Knapp, I'm grateful for Delia's midnight baking. We give thanks for midnight baking and for the gifts that Delia offers. Other things for which you're grateful. From Ken, grateful for having dinner with the family every night. From Margaret, a reminder you can raise your hand digitally to share a joy verbally, or you can open the participants menu on the bottom of the screen and press raise hand. From Ruth, who's grateful for time to paint her house. From Kyoko, to everyone, thank you for your amazing love and support. I am so grateful. From Karen, I'm grateful for a husband. Oh, go ahead. Is it Kathy? Kathy? Well, Kathy, I'll unmute you there. And now you can unmute yourself. Let's see. Let's see, Kathy, if we can get this working. Margaret, can you help with Kathy Jacobson?
I am grateful to Linda for allowing me to join in your group, even though I live in Georgia.
Oh, Kathy, we are so grateful to have you here. You and I made a connection a while back, and I am so grateful that in the midst of all the pain of this time, it also offers us gifts to connect with one another and build community together across other normal limits and barriers. It's really good to have you here.
And Ellen has got her hand raised as well.
I just want to say thank you to, and I'm so grateful for Kyoko and Ed for sharing your beautiful gifts. And they're going to stay with me all day. And Ed has been, I don't know, thank you also for these emails of your beautiful photography that I've been getting. And it's just, you know, such a respite from my day. So thank you everybody for sharing your artistic gifts.
For the gifts of Kyoko and Ed, we give thanks, and we'll also include a link to that video so that you can enjoy that in an all church email. And again, let us know if you're not on that email list and would like to be. From Karen, I'm grateful for a husband who wakes up before the sun with the kiddos and lets me sleep. God, we give you thanks for that gift of sleep and rest and care. From Karen and Tony and Chloe. From Karen, grateful for my students who are still working hard even though they were offered a pass-fail option. God, we give you thanks for students and for teachers in this difficult and trying time of learning and teaching. From Ovid, I'm deeply grateful for the ways this community shows up. Thank you, oh God, for being with us and helping us to show up to you and for one another. From Leah, I'm very grateful for my family and the time home with them, keeping the busiest we've ever been. Also grateful for this community. My love goes to all of you. Oh God, we give you thanks for Leah and this time with family and for all the love. From Leslie Hamilton, I'm grateful that my mother has traded her old diseased body for a new, glorious, unbounded spiritual body. I'm grateful for the time that Mom and I had together. I'm grateful for the love of friends and family at this time. I'm grateful for Linda, Kip, Margaret, and Priscilla, who've held Maya and I during our striving and our sorrow. And oh God, we raise up in particular this morning the life of Gloria and the love of Leslie and Maya and the ways in which you have held them and borne them through these difficult and powerful days. Receive her into the company of all the saints and continue to hold Leslie and Maya as they grieve and remember and celebrate and embody the love that has been shared with them by their mother and grandmother. From Terry and Rach, from Terry, I'm grateful for Rachel and all the little ways she shows love and support for me, even something as so small as a gift of socks. Oh God, we thank you for love and for socks. Are there other joys to raise? From Holly, I'm grateful for being a nurse. And oh God, we give you thanks for Holly and for all those who are working on the front lines to care for all of your people. As we notice the flowers that we may have gathered, or you might see if you don't have your own flowers in someone else's screen, we notice our connectedness to the earth. If you have a flower, I invite you to take it now and to raise it up. Notice the specific ways that you feel a connection to the earth. What are places in creation where you find beauty, newness, or power? I invite you to note those also in the chat box if you would like now, and we will raise them up and call them out. From Margaret has a flower wreath from her mother. And if you can see Margaret's picture, you will see her beautiful face in the middle of her beautiful flower wreath. Other places or ways that you're feeling connection to creation. Look at these gorgeous, gorgeous images of you and your flowers. From Karen. Karen has dandelions that Tony picked from the yard. Just notice the ways, oh, and from Beth, her candle is made from the bees. We give you thanks for the work of the bees. So just notice this morning on this day, it's gray and rainy where I am, but the earth is being soaked with water, and any minute things are going to just explode in blooms. From Jay and Melinda, we've successfully started seeds this year. Peppers and cucumbers are on the way. So I invite you just to notice where you feel connected to creation, where the earth is feeding you, where it's sustaining you. If you're able to be outside, what that feels like, what that's like. Marlene has a bouquet from her friend Charlotte. We give you thanks, oh God, for creation and the ways in which you enfold us in beauty and in power and in newness. And so now at this time, if you have bread, I invite you to raise it up. We celebrate our connections to the gifts of the harvest and the work of human hands. In the sharing of this bread, we honor our connectedness to the earth and one another. And if you have a cup of something, I invite you to raise it up. We remember too our connectedness to those who bear the cup of life, who poured out to heal the ground on which we find ourselves, who bid us to trust the sacred times of letting go, of waiting and healing. And we remember too our connection to Jesus, who poured out his life and love and passion for us. On the night before he died, in a time when he was both betrayed and afraid, knowing he was facing into death, Jesus gathered with the ones he loved and the ones who loved him, the ones he had taught and shaped, the ones who would carry on his spirit and his message and his work. They broke bread and they shared a cup and they blessed it and one another. Like Jesus, we too sometimes feel betrayed by our bodies, by the systems that should be caring for us and all people, the safety nets that should be there but aren't. And like Jesus, we face into loss. As we gather before these elements to be spilled and broken, we notice the brokenness in our own lives and in the world, and we name them in prayer now. For what shall we pray? You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're angry, I am too, but God is here and holding you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too, but we're all here. Look around, right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
And so we leave this service going from this place, whatever it means to go from this place, doing the job to which Mary Oliver calls us or reminds us we are called, the work of paying attention. Pay attention to the world. Pay attention to your feelings. Pay attention to your fear. Pay attention to your rage. Pay attention to your grief. Pay attention to the news, but only as much as you need. Pay attention to your joy. Pay attention to the blossoming. Pay attention to the rain. Pay attention to the breeze. Pay attention to the sun whenever it returns again. Pay attention to this array of faces that shows up on these screens week after week after week. Pay attention to the outdoor friends. Pay attention to the indoor friends. Pay attention to the songs that well up in your heart. Pay attention to the people in your homes, the people who are your loves. Pay attention to the people you reach out to across the divide. Pay attention to the people who are invisible, the people who are the essential workers, the people who are our underpaid people making our lives possible. Pay attention to all of this. Pay attention to all of it and put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Amen. And we are going to take the mute off. We're going to open ourselves up to the cacophony. You can pay attention to the cacophony as well. In these closing moments, we'll just hang out for a few moments and say hi to each other.
Hi.
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 Oh man, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Carrie. Congratulations, Chloe.
Thank you. Hello.
Congratulations. So proud of you.
Graduated.
And an award.
She said congratulations.
Sending you love, Leslie and Maya.
Terry and Rachel, I love that your cat comes to church.
Oh my gosh. It's good we're muted most of the time.
Hi, Mom.
Bye.
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 Beautiful.
Bye, everybody.
There's Kate.
Bye.
One of their best friends.
Warren, you want to say goodbye?
You, Ovid.
Karen. Bye, Shaw.
Hi, everybody.
Irish immigration.
Bye.
I'm leaving the meeting.
Bye.
Mom left.
I'm so glad to see you again, Christine.
Hi, Warren.
Hi. Looks like we've got a parakeet in church today, too.
And Maggie's here.
Hi, Warren.
Too. Maggie wants to see you.
Bye.
Bye.
There's Marjorie.
Hey, Juniper.
Hi, everybody. Love you.
Bye.
What?
Stephanie.
Have a good week, everybody.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, Linda, your dog.
Hi, Melinda and Jay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Eli.
Hi.
Bye, everybody.
Kathy.
Oh.
Jamie.
Oh.
Hi, Jamie. Hey, everybody. Love you.
Hi, Maggie.
Where's
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Hey, everybody. Have a good week.
Before, but I'm so glad that you're with Christine again.
Ah.
So good to see your face. I wasn't here the first time.
Yes.
Stephanie, what are you doing without nuts?
Oh.
It'd be really good to see you. Really good to see you.
Now tell them we're 13 feet apart.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. We had the Irish immigration list from 1833
Yeah.
to 1839
Yes.
worship with us today.
That's right.
Wondering where they were.
No. We're fine. We've been in each other's space for months. They don't know that.
What's the story with that, Jen and Linda?
I'm trying to find out what ship Marianne McCullough came to America on.
Great.
It's the other one.
Keep us posted.
Someday.
filling some extra time with reading a 700-page book called The 300-Year History of Philadelphia, and I'm on chapter 2. So
I just left.
All right.
anybody needs multiple Philadelphia facts,
That's like a God.
I got you.
Yes, it was so good.
So, are we on for, I can't believe so.
That dog's face. That dog's face is killing me.
Yes.
That's Maggie, Margaret Mead.
She's so chill.
She's pretty, not always that chill, but
Yeah.
she's a great coworker. She's an excellent coworker.
Ovid, thank you for your song.
You're welcome. Did that.
Yeah,
That was
that
it,
was
Becca.
great.
Yeah, you just come up with these random songs that are just fabulous.
I was so nervous, it just fell out of my mouth.
Wonderful.
Great.
You and Kip should get together and make some really good music together.
That
We are
benediction
going to.
works. Okay, guys, have a good week.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Stephanie, it's so good to see you.
It's so good to be seen.
But I have an app that's going to help us make some beats.
Yes. Is that what the sound is?
Stephanie, I like your jacket too. I knew that whenever you came to Digital Church, it would still be looking really fine. So. I'm not surprised.
Amazing. Amazing. All right.
Perfect.
I'm washing my hands.
All right.
All right. Have a
All
good
right.
day, everyone.
Marjorie,
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
everybody.
Take care.
Is that a picture of Marjorie? Is that?
That's what I was trying to figure out. It looks like it. Could either that or
Picture
she's.
where she doesn't move.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care. Have a great week.
Stephanie, FYI, you'll just need to leave the meeting. To push, there'll be a leave meeting button in the bottom right hand of your screen. And that will. Okay. There we go. Christine's got it. Hello, hello. Kip and Linda, we're going to be doing this debrief. Marjorie, are you still with us? I don't want to kick you out of the meeting because if I do, then you wouldn't be able to join ever again. Ah, there we are. Okay. I'm going to unmute you. There we go. Sorry, I tried to push unmute for you.